Sneakers and Cleats, the podcast.
Welcome back to the Sneakers and Cleats podcast. It is Monday, December 9th. This is episode 155. Matt Roy, Don Harris right here.
What's up?
Over there. What's going on, guys?
What's up with you, Matt?
I'm good.
Start another week.
Couldn't be better. Forks up, baby. Let's
Yeah,
go.
congratulations to your Arizona State Sun Devils.
Yeah, couldn't have been better. Watching the game through one eye open in the first half, and then the second half, I actually left the house. I'm one of those superstitious people who, like, if we're winning and everything's going well, nobody move. And so I had to go to a baby shower on that day. So at 1 o'clock, the baby shower started. So we left, and I was like, God, if we lose, I have to leave the baby shower and go home. Like, I have to lay back on the couch if we start losing. And so I got to the baby shower. Luckily, they had the game on at Alamo Cafe where the baby shower was being held. And three turnovers later and 3 touchdowns later, I was like, all right, well, I'm watching every game here from now on, apparently. So turned out pretty good. But, yeah, my weekend was solid, guys. How about you guys? With that incident, as Chuck likes to say?
Yes, free of incident, lots of rest, a lot of fun.
Yeah, I
Yes.
went to Austin for a music show, had a really good time, had a really good meal. You ever eaten at the Roaring Fork?
I haven't spent a lot of time in Austin.
Very, very nice.
What makes the fork roaring?
I don't know.
There's a fork, but since it's roaring, it is the roaring fork.
Very, very good.
The Roaring Fork in Cibolo?
In Austin, downtown Austin. Yeah,
Huh,
it's
interesting.
a good time. The Paramount Theater is a lot like our Majestic, maybe a little smaller, but very old, like 100 years old and really nice. Good music background.
Well, got a lot to talk about. We didn't have a podcast on Thursday because we had some,
Mark Broussard.
scheduling issues, but back today. Happy to be back here sitting next to you guys. Before we get started, I want to remind everyone, subscribe to the YouTube channel, News 4 Fox SA. If you're so inclined, download, rate, review. The podcast last Monday did extremely well, so thank you to everyone who tuned in and downloaded, rated, and reviewed. We got Spurs back in the win column last night, beating the Pelicans 121-116. Pelicans maybe the most injured or second most injured team in the league right now because of how many people are down for them. I think the Magic also might be on that short list of superstars.
Magic still wins, though.
I know Magic are winning, but I don't know how they're doing it with 2 guys with torn obliques out for the year and 2 of their best players. So we can talk about that. We're also going to talk about Chris Paul reaching a huge milestone, becoming the second leading assist man in the history of the NBA, passing up Jason Kidd with 12,099 now, I believe, is what he has.
Wow.
Really cool moment last night when that happened. Plus, the Cowboys, once again in prime time, and this time still with a chance to make the playoffs, I guess. They're playing the Bengals tonight on Monday Night Football. What can we expect from them? Will a 6-7 record, if they win tonight, cause you to start having a little bit more belief in this team, even though they start to be seem to be hitting their stride a little bit? Might be getting some reinforcements back tonight with Trayvon Diggs and all those guys. Talk about that. Plus, the college football playoff revealed. We have our sheets of integrity. The bracket has been revealed. And so we'll talk about the CFP, and I'll try not to talk too heavily about the Arizona State Sun Devils. So I don't know how successful I'll be. But we do have trivia today. Back. Mamas, don't let your kids grow up to be anything but baseball players, all right? Juan Soto signs a 15-year, $765 million contract.
How old will he be?
He'll be 41 at the end of this deal.
And what's his last year's salary?
His last year will be 55 if he re-signs. There's an opt-out after the 4th year.
55
Million.
million at 41 years of age.
The best part about this is, before we get to the trivia question, the best part about this, I did the math last night. He makes, for the next 15 years, $5,821 an hour for the next 15 years.
Righteous bucks.
Just in the time we're making this.
$51 million a year.
It's insane.
Yeah.
Anyway, so my trivia question is off of that. Juan Soto has the most walks of any player through their age 25 season. Who is second among in NB or in MLB history? Who has the second most walks through their age 25 season? I don't expect either of you to get this, but I thought it was interesting.
Does he have 500 home runs?
I believe so.
Maybe Bonds then?
It's a good pick.
He didn't cheat. I'll give you that.
But Bonds got
We
a
don't
lot
know
of
that
hits
Bonds
later.
cheated either.
Bonds cheated
Wink,
later.
wink.
Later. Who hit a ton of home runs early? How about
Fat Albert?
Willie Mays?
Okay, that's a good guess. It is Mickey Mantle. Mickey Mantle is 99 short of Juan Soto. Juan Soto, through his age 25 season, has been walked 769 times. Mickey Mantle had 670 through his age 25 season. I was just reading an article this morning, thought that was interesting, so I figured, and I wanted to get Juan Soto into the podcast somehow because I just can't believe how much he just signed for.
I have a picture in my phone of all the Nationals walking out of Houston for Game 7, and he had a bottle of champagne in his hand after they won the World Series.
He wasn't old enough, right?
That's what I was thinking. It's like, oh man, this might be a scoop. Take a picture of the guy with a champagne bottle in his hand. He's not even of age.
Yeah, I thought
he just turned 21.
Did he?
So
Good for him.
that's my memory of Juan Soto, and now my memory is going to be a lot different now with that kind of bank. Jeepers creepers.
My goodness. I didn't think anyone would surpass Shohei Ohtani's $700 million last year. I mean, he still wins the AAV award with the $70 million a year, 10 years
What
for
are the
$700,
chances,
but
though, that these guys really see all that money? Are they
It's
good?
guaranteed. It's fully guaranteed.
Yeah.
He could get hurt tomorrow. He'll still have that money.
Man.
It's insane. Anyway, I'm sure there's different clauses in the contract, but besides the point, it's fully guaranteed contract. None of it's deferred either, which means Steve Cohen's just going to be writing checks, baby. He's just writing checks as soon as that day comes up. Anyway, let's get to the Spurs here. A couple of things I want to get to. Spurs beat the Pelicans last night, 121-116. Wasn't their best showing, especially when you're playing a team that's as injured as the Pelicans are. Scary moment earlier in the game. Wemby just coming back from a back injury, tweaked it again early in the game last night. Decided to come back early in the second quarter. Still ended up with 25 and a pretty good stat line. But he said after the game he wasn't very worried, but this injury is annoying and it's painful. How concerned are you guys? Because this is now the second or third different tweak that he's had this year. How concerned are you guys with Wemby and his injury history for this season?
I'm not. I mean, he's got a unique physique, and guys go through things. As long as it's not structural and it's just muscular, I take them at their word that it's nothing serious. You just have to monitor it and make sure this guy really takes care of his body, and he's got like 4 guys in charge of stretching him, and so I don't think it's an issue. I'm not concerned of him missing, months or anything like that.
It was a weird game last night, right? Because there were a lot of guys going to the locker room.
Yeah, I have
last
that
night.
in here.
Castle got dinged,
Keldon.
and he came back.
Collins.
Keldon, came back. Keldon did not come back. He had a calf injury. So, yeah, that was, talk about it being just a regular Sunday night game against a team with 5 wins. All of a sudden, that was going to be one of those games that you looked at, first with Wemby and then with Castle and then with Keldon. It's like, geez, this is turning out to be quite the brutal game, or potentially. So luckily, 2 of the 3 guys came back, but we're still waiting to hear what's up with Keldon.
Yeah, luckily not huge injuries. I mean, we've already had the Jeremy injury, broken thumb. He's back now, luckily. Devin with his foot, they're still kind of injury managing him thus far into the season. But it's these soft tissue ones that can remain nagging throughout the season, which I'm a little concerned about with Victor. Like, is he going to be? Mitch talked about it a little bit last night about getting your rhythm, and having 2 days off kind of disrupts the rhythm, and he said he hates that.
Well, now they're going to have a week off with the tournament going on,
right?
Which I think is good for Wemby in this situation.
But also it disrupts the rhythm of the season. You're taking a week off in the middle of the season. It's not like the All-Star break where you maybe have still some activities to go do. You're really taking a week off in the middle of the season. Obviously, you're going to practice throughout that, but is that going to disrupt the rhythm even more? These soft tissue injuries are always those ones that are kind of nagging, that calf injury, that lower back, that maybe that hammy, things like that. And so I always get concerned about the longevity of these players when you have something nagging at you like that.
Good question. Good question to wonder about here. So they played Sunday. They don't play again until Friday. Mm-hmm. During the All-Star break, in the collective bargaining agreement, these guys are off. They go to Cancun, whatever. This is an odd scheduling deal where the other teams are playing games. I would think that the Spurs would be allowed to practice.
Yeah.
And even practice hard this week if they wanted to. And I think that's really good for this team because you don't get very many practice days in the NBA. Wemby can get his rest. They can go hard a couple of times. I think this is a great little break for them.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, just on the surface, they were rolling. They were playing pretty well. I mean, you watched them night after night during that 6-game stretch where they won 5 of them. And it looked like okay, this is starting to look like basketball. This is looking like they might have a good little team here. Now, it's been a little bit of a rough stretch over the last 3 or 4 with the integration of trying to get Vassell and Jeremy Sohan back into the flow of things. And, I think, to Don's point, this can be very beneficial because this team was playing pretty darn good basketball. And now they got reinforcements back, but now they're back to playing choppy and,
Giving up
lapses at
140.
times. And
Yeah, that was
They quit playing defense for 2 or
embarrassing.
3 games in a
yeah,
row.
there were some lapses in the fourth quarter too last night that were just like, you got to be kidding me. I mean, it was really, really hard to watch at times.
Well, that goes to one of the other things I wanted to talk about here. Mitch Johnson has been very critical openly about this team's effort at all times. And Pop has challenged players in the media at times before. You see great coaches challenge players through the media all the time. Mitch has done that, it seems like a little bit more than I expected him to. Does that surprise you guys that I know he's challenged Wemby in the media openly. He's challenged different players openly on their effort and how hard they're going every night. He said it was better against the Kings even though they gave up 140. Does that surprise you guys at all?
No. I think he's not to take anything away from Mitch. I think he's doing a fantastic job. But I think he's parroting what he's being told on the phone when he talks to Pop. Pop's not going to allow Mitch to allow those guys to get off the hook, right? So, I mean, this is a big picture, all-inclusive deal that starts with Pop. And I think Mitch is carrying out that mission too. And I know Mitch is his own guy and he has his own opinions, but I think he'd be in a deadlock agreement with Pop of those kind of things cannot be tolerated. Pop would probably be a little stronger in his comments, calling them soft and calling them out after a couple of those games. But Mitch, to Mitch's credit, he's calling it like he sees it.
Yeah, I think that's my take too, is that Mitch seems to be his own man. And to me, it doesn't appear that he's just keeping the seat warm until Pop gets back at some point, if that's what ends up happening. I mean, to me, he's acting as though he's the head coach. He is at the top of the pyramid of this whole operation right now, especially when it comes to what's going on the floor. And I get the sense that anything that he's saying publicly isn't anything that he hasn't already addressed with the team, right? So, if this is what it takes to motivate your players, to publicly shame them a little bit about effort, because to me, if you're watching some of these games, I think those are some of the questions that I have too. It's like, how come these guys aren't going full tilt all the time? And Mitch has said it before. We're not going to play you that much where you can't be given maximum effort every single moment on the floor. This team is deep enough, and we're going to rotate guys in and out that we can give you a breather if you need one. But when you're on the floor, we expect you to go 100% all the time.
To that end, you said he's kind of mouthing what Pop gives him over the phone. How much anonymity do you think that he really has as the interim head coach right now, filling in for one of the greatest coaches of all time?
Autonomy, you mean?
Autonomy, excuse me. Sorry.
Oh,
wrong word.
I think Pop trusts him to do what he feels is right. I do think, though, that Brett Brown and Pop and Mitch and Matt all are in agreement, and this has always been the case since 1997, right? Pop is notorious for leaning on a young Mike Budenholzer who was in his first year and saying, let's do what this kid says. That's a good idea. And anybody who's ever coached for Pop, all of them, from Mike Brown to Steve Kerr, Steve played for him, but any of these guys, Bud, all these other guys that have coached for him, the guy that was coaching Washington the other day is a former Spurs intern/assistant. All those guys were always amazed that they did it that way here. They did it a little differently in that every opinion's a good one. Let's hear it. And guys would be afraid to speak up in a meeting with Pop, and Pop would have to encourage him to. So I think, Pop encourages Mitch to be Mitch, and if he's got a great plan that's different than Pop's, or that's we don't know if it's different from Pop's because Pop's not talking because of his health, then he's going to trust Mitch. And Brett and all of them. And he has autonomy because he's the guy that's been selected to be in that seat. But to know Mitch is to know that he's also leaning on Brett Brown and leaning on Matt Nielsen and leaning on Pop for their input. RC too, I think. Brian Wright too.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't had any updates on Pop, so I don't know if there's any conversations going on between Pop and the organization at all. I'm just, my eyes tell me that Mitch is in charge. Mitch is the man. Mitch is the guy that's figuring out who's playing. He decides who to sit when he doesn't like what's going on. And, I mean, I'm going to just leave it at that.
He's got a Steve Baser-like growl after the game, too. I kind of like it.
Yeah, he loses his voice.
He loses his voice every game. What's up, Pop?
So Robert Smith has got a comment.
Robert, welcome back.
A regular watcher / listener. First of all, he said belated happy holidays to everybody.
Happy holidays.
And then he said he's glad to see CP3 get the record, but he likes more that the team found a way to win last night.
Yeah, it's another one of those games that we've talked about, right, where the wheels came off and New Orleans went on a, 13-0 run or something to come back and get in it. And did they take the lead by one?
Yep.
Yeah.
And then they find a way to win that. I think that's a game they lose without CP3 last year.
Yeah,
Chris Paul looked like, what are these guys? Like, he's on the court sometimes, and he's a coach on the floor, but he looked so upset at his teamates right there. It was like, are you guys playing? Like, there was no focus at all going on. And
he's the rest of us, right?
Yeah.
Chris Paul's saying the same things, and it was cool. I think you're going to play the clip where they gave him that gift.
Yeah. That's coming up next.
And a couple of times in his little speech, he says, I know I'm a lot to deal with, and he's talking about,
how much he demands.
I'm
on
a
the floor.
pain in your rear end.
Yeah.
But that's exactly what this team needed.
Yep. Anything else, Bob?
You know who's watching? It's
Tom
from
Guerrero.
the business office.
Tom Guerrero.
Guerrero.
Shout out Tom Guerrero.
What up, Tom?
This is nice to be on Tom's lunch break with him every Monday and Thursday.
These players get paid to play. No excuses. Not to put their best effort while on the floor.
Amen to that.
Don mentioned it a little bit. The ceremony, for lack of a better term, after the game of the Spurs giving CP3 a plaque and a big poster board looking thing with all of the names of all the players he's assisted. I think it's 123 players, 128 players that he's given an assist to. The most of them, I think it was DeAndre Jordan and Blake Griffin, have the most from CP3. But little ceremony in the locker room after the win last night. This was actually really cool by the Spurs social media team.
This is every teammate you have assisted on in your career. We have all watched and admired you in this long journey. And we've all been privileged this year to experience it up close. It's been a hell of a journey. We are very, very privileged to be a part of it. And in typical CP fashion, after he passes Magic and J-Kidd and in all the milestones and accomplishments he's had, this is at the top as the number 2 assist guy, and he got it with the f***ing win.
Man, I can't say nothing but thank you, man. Seriously, man. I know I'm hard to deal with a lot of times, and I swear, man, I'm so grateful. You know what I mean? To be away from my family, y'all became my family, and so I know I'm a lot to deal with on the court, man. But I just love the hoop, and I hope that y'all get this opportunity to play as long as I have, man. So thank y'all so much.
Really, really cool moment. You can tell how emotional he's getting and how he got with it, just because I can't imagine how hard it is for him to basically leave his family in California, and he just came. This is a business. This is business for him. He came out to San Antonio to play basketball, to win basketball games, and to continue a 20-year phenomenal career that is going to lead him into the Hall of Fame 5 years after he steps off of a basketball court. And so to be this invested and love this team and the city like he has started to in these 6 months that he's been here is actually really cool to see and to hear from him.
Yeah, and it's just, that has R.C. Buford written all over it too, right? That framed thing with every person that he's assisting on and all those pictures. That's just first class from the Spurs. That's just that's what they're known for around the league with players and stuff. And we've seen him. They did that with Randy Beamer when he retired from here. They gave him a jersey with his name on it, and RC gave a video message. They're just first class all the way.
Yeah, and then again, the other layer to this is, I mean, the timing of him being here, right, with Pop's health and not being on the sideline. I mean, to have this guy here and everything that he's about as a player, and then, coach on the floor, and go right down the line. I mean, the timing of him being in San Antonio at the tail end of his career, I mean, you think about where best would Chris Paul's services, whatever they are at this point in his career, where would they play best in the NBA? Probably in a lot of different places, but I can't think of a better place with this young of a roster that you would have a guy with that many skins on the wall and, to be able to guide this team through the storm here.
Yeah.
And I don't think that I would have said this 6 months ago, but if you were to ask me right now, would you re-up him for one more year after this year for the same money he's making this year? I'd say do it.
I think so too.
He's
I was
that
just about
valuable.
to ask that.
He's that valuable.
Especially when you have such a young team around him and you're not spending a lot of money elsewhere right now. You have kind of the flexibility in your cap and in your draft picks and whatnot to make some of those veteran moves, even if it's not $11 million, if it's $8 million, if it's $14
He's going to
million.
cost you a lot more next year than he got.
I don't know. I don't know if he
year.
will. I don't know if he will. $11 million isn't chump change, but
Well,
it's
he
a
did-
mid-level. It's a mid-level exception.
And that was all he was going to get on the
That's
open
all he's going to
market.
get somewhere else anyway.
Yeah, at that age. But, man, he's worth every penny right now.
I mean, yeah, especially if you're talking about another younger team that could use a guy and his valuable minutes off the bench, if that's what it is somewhere else. I mean, we're looking at his plus minus for everybody on the Spurs team this year. He's number one in plus minus on this team.
Yeah, and it makes
his
sense
age.
why.
He will make more next year if they want to bring him back.
But it was awesome
Or
to
at
see
least
his,
earn the right to
his
make
family
more
was
money.
all here yesterday in the stands and
cool.
saw that he became this. Wemby got the basket that made him the second in assists. So it was just a really cool moment last night, and they got it in a W, just like Mitch said. So that was really cool to see.
And a John Stockton appreciation post, too. Because
Yeah, he's still 3,000 away. What is it? What's John have? 15,209,
15,000,
something like
over
that.
15,000.
Yeah, he's
All to one guy.
CP3 is not going to get there. Unfortunately,
Nobody is.
even if CP gets what? How many seasons would CP3 need? Like 4 more to get to John? Maybe
Yeah, he's not
5.
gonna get
He's
there.
not going to get there.
It's like nobody's going to get to LeBron's scoring record either.
100%. Look, I was looking last night. If LeBron plays 2 more years and CP3 stops after this year, LeBron might pass him on the assist total.
Wow.
Which is crazy. LeBron has I think it's 11-2-0 something. So if he plays 2 more years, he might be in 3rd place and knock Jason Kidd down another peg.
Wow.
But anyway.